So first off, thanks for having us over here to do the interview with you guys. So first question I guess I'm going to ask is, what got you guys into brewing? Why did you start?
Well, for me, my wife bought me a homebrew kit when I was just out of college, so I'd been homebrewing for about 20 years. I met Eric at my first job, his second job, and he homebrewed, and you actually started before me.
I started about 2 months after I turned 21.
Okay.
So once we found out that we each were homebrewers, we started homebrewing a little bit together. We formed a homebrew club together called Men of Beer.
So then, how come you guys started up a brewery here in Oconomowoc? Is this where you lived, or is this kind of like, what was the decision for the location?
So we've been homebrewing for 20 years. I always thought when I retired from my day job that I would open a brewery and do that in retirement. The facility was a previously owned brew pub that was up for sale. So it was close enough to home. I convinced my wife that it was a good idea, and we decided to go for it. So we purchased the facility basically 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I was, as Chad said, I was friends with Chad from my previous job, and we were homebrewing together in a homebrew club for a long time. So the time was right, and Chad needed a partner, so I joined up shortly after we purchased it.
So what was kind of like the most difficult thing, like trying to start up Brewfinity in like a small town? I mean, like not having, the popularity of like, being in like Milwaukee and stuff.
Well, the reason I decided to jump and make the purchase was as a turnkey operation. So the facility was already operational. We had all the equipment in place. It's close enough to where I live, so that's how we ended up picking this facility. It was already established in Oconomowoc.
Okay.
So that's how we ended up here.
And I think the biggest struggle is, letting people in Oconomowoc know we're here. We're in an industrial park that's not on the main drag downtown.
Right.
So people need to know there's a brewery in Oconomowoc.
It's on the west side of town. Most people are going east for work, so
Right.
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So not too many pass through here, like maybe going to Madison or anything like that, or not really?
Interesting enough, most of the people that come here this is a central meeting point for people who are meeting up with their friends from Milwaukee and Madison.
Oh.
So we're about the halfway point between the two. So we get a lot of people who pick this place as their meeting point.
Oh, nice.
Or if they're weary travelers, they've traveled all the way from Milwaukee and they haven't quite made it to Madison, they can stop in and get some nourishment and then make it that last little trip.
Yeah, I've known myself to make a couple of pit stops on the way from Milwaukee to Madison or back, depending on where I was at. So
Sure.
So what's like your most popular beer here? What would be your favorites that you make here?
So this year, our most popular is actually our Ski Slide, which is a Vienna lager.
That's pretty tasty.
But the one that we're known for is actually our jalapeno lager. It's got all the flavor and aroma of jalapeno, but not the heat. So when we bought the facility, that's what people were coming here for. That's the beer they were coming here for, and we continued that recipe because, frankly, we didn't want to get death threats from the loyal customers we had. So
you didn't want them to go home and have that Taco Bell experience.
Yeah. So there's an interesting story behind that. So Minhas, when they bought Huber over in Monroe, they stopped making the Bach beer.
Oh.
They got death threats from the locals who wanted their Bach beer in Monroe. So Minhas decided to continue making the Bach beer at that point.
So we don't like death threats?
Yeah, I didn't want to get death threats like they did, so we'll
That's
keep the
fair.
Jorge.
It's a fair decision.
So the part of your question is favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite that you make?
I personally am a day-to-day beer drinker. Today I've been drinking the Bach beer, but I think yesterday I was more of in an IPA mood. So the East Love Child would be my favorite choice. So I don't have a style that I like every day that I always go for. Kind of all over the board.
It's really that we treat each of the beers as our kids.
Yeah.
You like all of your kids, but there's always that problem child you really don't want to partake in. So I'm kind of similar to Eric. It's like I kind of float between what one's my favorite. Usually it's the latest one that we brewed. Right now, Snowflake Joe is my favorite.
Or like your seasonal because you only brewing that for like 2-3 months and you're like, I gotta drink this while it's here.
It's a brand new beer, so we're like, oh, this is delicious. And Oktoberfest was before that.
Right.
So how do you guys come up with your beers? Like your ideas?
I think it's a random mix of, like, sometimes it's the season, you have to figure out what works for that season. Other times it's maybe a beer that we've done in the past that we've liked, in our homebrewing days or whatever. Sometimes you have to kind of do what the trends are. If there's something that's trendy, you gotta be relevant and make one of those.
And the other thing we look at is we have 16 taps, so it's like, all right, we have these styles, what will fit in that we don't have currently. Yeah. So a lot of times we'll look at what's currently on tap and then make a decision of what we're going to brew next based off that.
How often do you guys change beers? Like, you guys come up with new beers and change them out. How often do you guys do that?
I would say every 1 to 2 months for sure. This month we've had 2 or 3 though that have.
I think I'd average one new beer a month. That's kind of our goal. Yeah. So this month there were 2 new ones, but last month we didn't have one. So it's kind of
So what's like your guys' like production capacity? Like how many barrels do you sell?
So right now,
or usual or yearly basis.
First year of production was 140 barrels of beer. Second year was about 235 barrels. This year we're projected to be right around 600 barrels. But to put that in perspective, as Eric pointed out once to me, it's like Miller Lite, a single batch of their beer is 500 barrels of beer.
Right.
So Miller Lite is producing in one shift, 1 8-hour shift, double what we made all last year.
Right.
So.
And probably even more than that because that's one brew kettle of 500 barrels. They have probably many of those, right?
Sure.
So it's probably.
But you have to think about like how long companies like Miller and stuff have been around and how much like, you have to look at the demographics and see like, okay, people have been drinking Miller for the long time and you haven't really had a craft boom until like the 1980s and stuff.
And really in Milwaukee, probably 2014.
Yeah. And then on top of that with like, you also have so many new breweries that are popping up on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So you almost kind of have to compete with that a little bit. It's a flooded market almost these days, it seems like.
There's still room.
Yeah.
How many coffee shops are there? That's why I keep going back to. It's like there's a coffee shop on every corner. There could be a brewery on every corner.
That's true.
And I think the thing with the craft industry is that the breweries kind of play nice. Everyone's kind of looking to help each other. It's not like you're trying to take down one of the other breweries that popped up recently.
The biggest thing is everybody's trying to take down the big ones. Everybody's against Miller. Everybody's against Bud.
Right. But like, I think one of the more interesting thing that you guys do is like specifically the Oktoberfest. You take like a twist on like a tried recipe of like a beer that is popular like now kind of almost worldwide and everything, and then add that little like twist of orange to it, and really kind of gives it like an interesting flavor.
Sure.
Not bad, but it's just like enough to make it different and stand out from anything else they ever had. Yeah.
Thanks.
Getting to the end of it. Only another keg or 2 left.
Oh,
Take some growlers home with you.
Yeah, you hear that? Get your come to Brewfinity, get your Oktoberfest while it's still here. You got anything else?
Yeah, you guys plan on in the future like expanding out, expansion wise, like get your beers in like, say other liquor stores.
Yeah, right now we're exploring. We've kind of piloted, test marketed the canning operation into local liquor stores and stuff like that. Once we've kind of established that there's a market for that, so we'll probably work with a mobile canner here to kind of grow that market here this coming year.
So we've done 2 beer styles, 3 with the Oktoberfest, but really 2 go forward beer styles, Daydrink and Jorge. And it's been, we can't keep up really, we don't have any Jorge in cans right now. People ask, can I buy a 6-pack? And sorry, we're out. So I think we've realized there's some demand there.
So you need to start getting those canning lines going then and figuring that out. And that's
and right now we've stayed really close to home with it. We've only hit a couple liquor stores in Oconomowoc, one in Sussex that's close to his house, and I think we have just 6 outlets that we focus on canning right now, and we can't keep up with that.
Yeah, because I think I've seen your day drinker at Discount Liquor, but I think that's the only one I've seen like outside of there. But I've seen like the photos of the Oktoberfest and stuff, like for the cans. So.
One of the things with Total Wine is Total Wine has crap.
Yeah.
We're looking at like the big stores like Total Wine, even Woodman's, but we would not be able to keep up with the demand, so we stayed out of those arenas until we get a more high production canning system.
So outside of brewing, what do you guys do at home for hobbies and stuff? Like what kind of activities? I just brew beer. No, that's my life. I wake up in the morning, brew beer, maybe eat.
What did you do
and
yesterday,
then
Eric?
I wasn't here all day yesterday, but I was brewing at home.
Brewing at home.
Yeah, it was a small batch for maybe something in the future. But serious though, we both have families that we like to spend time with, and we both like to exercise in different ways, running and martial arts and stuff. And
oh, cool!
Just try
martial arts too.
Try to stay healthy because in the beer industry, you kind of eat pretty poorly and you drink a lot of beer. And, it's good to drink water. Maybe exercise a little bit.
That being said, we actually are partnering with a local company here in Oconomowoc that does running events.
Okay.
So you can find our beer at their events over the next springtime.
So the last event we worked, I actually ran in it also, and I was motivated to be one of the top finishers because I had to be back to pour the beer for everybody else. And it worked out great. I was really thirsty, and
they were looking up your time actually after the fact. It's like he said he doesn't really run much, and he logged like a 6-minute mile.
Yeah. And here he is pouring the beers. He's drinking 3 already.
They're really fun events. It's called the Silver Circle Running Series, and they do a whole series of runs that you can buy like for a pretty decent price, like 8 or 9 runs.
Oh, awesome!
And afterwards, you get some free Brewfinity beer. So
yeah. So we'll have to make sure people go to that.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, so I see you have like the Christmas tree back there with the ornaments for the Oconomowoc Police.
It's not Oconomowoc Police. So we're doing a fundraiser right now for the Wisconsin law enforcement, injured law enforcement organization. So it's a really cool organization. Like any law enforcement officer who's injured in the line of duty, this organization is there to help support them and everything. And it was brought to us by one of our bartenders, Ashley, who wanted to do something for local law enforcement, and we started working with this group to raise money for them. So it's really a cool fundraiser that we do.
You can buy ornaments till the end of the year, and they're all different increments from $5 to $50, and you get different discounts on beer.
Yeah, anybody who buys an ornament will discount the beer or give them a free beer depending on the volume of their sponsorship.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So we're gonna fill that tree up. It's pretty loaded already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks. It looks pretty. Yeah, I need a few more beers to get me loaded, so I think the tree's a couple of steps ahead of me right now. Anything else? You got any questions? All right, well, thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
We're glad to be here again and hope to be here more in the future.
Awesome.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.